For your current assignment where you're working on t-shirt design, one of your last steps is you need to create a mock-up file from your final artwork. So obviously you've created the artwork sized to go on the shirt, but you need to place it on a t-shirt mock-up so that we can tell, the placement and so forth, give you a good idea what it's going to look like. So I wanted to walk through that process real quick with you. I am on the class site, and I'm down at the bottom of the project page down here, and it says to create a mockup file, and I gave you links for a t-shirt front and a t-shirt back. So I've already downloaded those, and I have them sitting here in a mockups folder I'm working in. I decompressed them, and they're both Photoshop files. There are other ways of approaching this. There are Illustrator ones. I happen to like these Photoshop ones a lot. And so we're going to look at doing it here, and I would recommend these because we're able to change our t-shirt color in these easily. So it doesn't matter if my artwork is coming from Photoshop or if it's coming from Illustrator, either one will work fine. So let's look at these real quick. I'm going to go open both of these. Okay, so obviously here's my t-shirt front, and there's my t-shirt back. So very similar, but they do have, the different views of the shirt. So I'm going to do my art on the front. So I'm going to close the back one here and just work with the front one. Now it has this kind of light teal color. That's okay. I can change that in a moment. So if you look at the various layers you have over here, you can see all the different pieces. I've got the background, I've got the shirt color. There are these two layers here for rulers. These are rough, but they give you an idea of the size of the shirt. So if you're trying to get the size right on a shirt, you can take an actual ruler in real life and measure on a shirt, see how big you want it to be, and kind of calculate it out here. So I have those turned off right now. I have a layer that I can put my art on, and I have a foreground, and if you turn that off, you see that that's the detail of the shirt. So I'm going to go to the Your Art Here layer, because that's where I want my artwork to go. And I'm ready to go get my artwork. Now out here in my folder, I have two pieces of art that I was playing with. Both are Lake Tahoe themed. One came from Illustrator, and so there's my Illustrator one, so it's just the outline of Lake Tahoe with some type in it. And the second one is something that I played with for one of our Photoshop classes, and so you see that it's a combination of some different images together, and then I masked it out in the shape of Lake Tahoe. So just to give us a couple things to play with. So this one is actually a PNG file. That is my bitmap information. And then my other one from Illustrator, this is vector artwork. So I can work with either of those. So going back over to my t-shirt here, I'm just going to go up to File, and I can come down here, and I can either do a place embedded or a place linked, either one. Either one of those will work. The difference being, if you do place embedded, it embeds this artwork into this file, makes the file larger. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind. But the thing it does do is it contains all of the artwork here. So, like if you're turning this in, your artwork would be all contained within this one file. You also have place linked. In this case, it's not embedded, so it links to that original file. And when you turn it in, you're going to have to turn that other artwork in along with this. The other thing about place linked, though, is I can drop it on my shirt here, get it how I want it, and then if I want to edit the original, I go back out, edit that original file, whether it's the Photoshop or the Illustrator, and save it, and when I come back to this file, it will update it. And I kind of like that, so I'm going to go with a place linked in this case. So place linked. Let's see, where am I here? Let's do this the easy way. I'm just going to grab this and drag it to that window. Shows me where it's at now. Very good. Okay, so there's my PNG. I am just going to say place. Okay, he's a little bit big. That's okay. This is Photoshop, so I'm going to grab the corner and just drag to resize it. And I can kind of get him to the size I want So you may be going for a rather large image, maybe you're going for a smaller image. I think I'm going to go a little bit smaller. I just kind of drop right about there. Once you get it placed, there is a checkbox up here at the top you can click on, or I usually just click on the return key. That's my habit. Now, when you have placed this item, you will also notice that, let's see, there's the link right there. Okay, so it's linked. So that gives me all of the resolution that's in my original. Okay. Now, probably the only other thing I want to do here is I might want to change my shirt color. So if you come over here to the layer, you see where the blue is right there. I can double click that to change my color. However, it's going to warn me that this is locked. So I'm going to click, I better tell it OK. Click on the lock icon, and now I can double click again. And so now I can just pick whatever shirt color I want. The shirts that we usually have down with the shirt printer are black. So, you know, I could take this black. I've lost all the detail in my shirt, so it's hard to tell what is what, but that would be accurate. Or I might want to go kind of in a, you know, a charcoal color or something to show it there. Of course, you could be working, you know, you can work on a white color shirt if you want, or you can pick whatever color you want. I tend to prefer dark colored shirts, so I'm going to go kind of for a charcoal like that, and I'm going to say OK. Okay, so that is my first shirt. I'm going to go up to File and do a Save As. Save this on my computer, and I am going to say Tahoe Bear Shirt Mockup. And let's see, let's save this as, I'm going to save it as a JPEG. Oops, grabbed the wrong one. There we go, JPEG. I'm going to save that as a JPEG right there. So that is now something that could be turned in. I had a second piece of artwork. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the same file here. So I'm going to go right here where it says Barren Woods Mast. I'm going to turn that guy off so he's no longer visible. And once again, I'm going to come up to File and say Place Linked. And go grab, here's my other art, Happy Tahoe outlined. And say Place. OK, there it is. Once again, I can resize it to whatever I want. Figure out how I want this to look. Hit return to accept it. And there we go. There's my second shirt. And I think I'm just going to leave my shirt color the same on this one. So again, I'm going to go up and do a file, Save As. Save on my computer. And I will call this Tahoe Happy Place Mockup. And again, I'm going to make this be a JPEG to turn in. Save that there. Now, I still have my layered Photoshop file here, and if you look, it still has its original file name with it, okay? So I don't want to save it with that name, so again, I'm going to go do a Save As, and I'm going to say Hayes Shirt Mockups. .psd. And it's a PSD because down here I have on Photoshop. And I want to leave it as a Photoshop file because that'll keep my layers and everything. But I definitely want to save this because I may want to go back later and resize things or replace them or something like that. So I'm going to do a save right there. Always maximize capability or compatibility, excuse me. Close that. So here's my folder. I have, let's see where my mockups. There's my mockup and there's my mockup. Those would be the two things to turn in. You can always preview them. Okay, so those would be the mockups to turn in. Okay, so hopefully you find this to be a pretty easy process to go through.